Good afternoon on the Sunday, November 9th. I'm Yumna Naufal. These are today's headlines. Former President Michel Sleiman applauds the city of Tripoli for its support for the army and urges the election of a new president promptly. 2 grenades in the Palestinian camp of Ain al-Hilwa in Saida caused some minor material damage. An Ethiopian athlete, Fikadu Girma, wins the 12th Beirut Marathon, outclassing more than 37,000 participants from 94 countries. Former President Michel Sleiman is calling for the election of a new head of state as soon as possible, saying that the military offensive in North Lebanon last month demonstrated the urgency of ending the presidential vacuum. Speaking during a meeting at the residence of Mufti of North Lebanon, Sheikh Malik Sha'ar, Sleiman said he hopes the president will be elected before Lebanon's Independence Day on November 22nd. The former president saluted Tripoli for its attachment to the state during last month's clashes and expressed sympathy for the residents of the second largest city in Lebanon. He also said that they had experienced 30 years of state neglect. 2 explosions went off overnight in the Palestinian camp of Ain al-Hilwa in the southern city of Saida. An unknown assailant threw a hand grenade around midnight, which exploded near the Salah ad-Din mosque and damaged a public transport van. Around 2 hours later, a similar attack targeted the General Command Tunnel near the vegetable market. The explosions caused only material damage, with no reports of casualties or injuries. The Change and Reform bloc will remain determined to challenge the parliamentary extension law in the Constitutional Council. Those are the words of MP Ibrahim Kanaan during a conference in the Free Patriotic Movement Center in Beirut. The MP said his party is preparing for a serious appeal against the extension law, but acknowledged that there are members of the Constitutional Council who would oppose any challenge to the extension law. During last year's parliamentary extension controversy, the Constitutional Council failed to convene on several occasions due to lack of quorum, making it impossible for the Council to issue a decision before the deadline for addressing the challenges to the extension. It is Sunday, and so Maronite Patriarch Bashar al-Ra'i in his weekly sermon is urging the civil society of Lebanon to unify and lead the country and take initiatives to achieve progress and modernity. Speaking at his weekly Sunday Kirki Church, Ra'i accused politicians of being responsible for many of the divisions in Lebanese society and said citizens must lead the country away from political divisions and create unity. Such a united society, he said, can then elect new leaders for the country. The patriarch has been a harsh critic of the Lebanese politicians, especially after Parliament passed the extension bill last week, which he has been a stark opponent of. The 12th Beirut Marathon took place this morning, and Ethiopian runner Fikadu Girma outspaced thousands of competitors, and he won the 12th edition of the marathon. The athlete ran the 42-kilometer distance through the streets of Beirut, closed off for the occasion, in just 2 hours, 12 minutes, and 28 seconds on the clock. Omar Isa was the first Lebanese to cross the finishing line. More than 37 people hailing from 94 different countries were signed up to participate in the annual event, most of them in the 5 and 10-kilometer races. The event, held this year under the slogans Peace, Love, Run, is organized by the Beirut Marathon Association and sponsored by Lebanon's Central Bank. Regime air raids on a town held by the Jihadist Islamic State group in northeastern Syria have killed 21 civilians and wounded another 100, according to a monitoring group. Aircraft dropped 7 barrel bombs and other explosives late on Saturday on the ISIS-held town of Al-Bab, northeast of the city of Aleppo. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says regime airstrikes have repeatedly targeted Al-Bab, which is a stronghold of ISIS, which have seized control of the large parts of Syria now and Iraq. Syria's military is increasingly resorting to using so-called barrel bombs, which rights groups have condemned as a particularly indiscriminate weapon that often kills civilians. Barrel bombs are typically constructed from large oil drums, gas cylinders, or water tanks filled with high explosives and scrap metal. Coming up next, Germany marks the 25th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching the 4:20 o'clock news here on Future Television. The European Union's foreign policy chief, Federica Mogherini, is calling Israeli settlements illegal during a meeting with the Palestinian Prime Minister, Rami Hamdallah, in Ramallah. She also, however, met with Jordanian Foreign Minister Nasser Joudeh, discussing the situation in Palestine and the fight against extremist ideology.
We shared some opinions on how to restart a process that can lead to concrete results in terms of getting to the Palestinian state and security for Israel and Israeli people. It is still an issue that, as you said, is core issue, not even if there are so many other challenges in the region. What happens in Gaza, in the West Bank and in Jerusalem stays high on the agenda, not only for the countries of the region but also for the European Union. And I think we can work effectively together to move things forward and avoid that in a vacuum of political initiative violence could come back again.
Of course, we discussed the fight against extremist ideology, which is a long-term fight. It is our fight. It's not anybody else's fight, but I think it's an international coalition that has to provide the basis for this. Most importantly, I think we discussed what we refer to always as the central and core issue, which is the Palestinian problem and the absence of substantial and substantive negotiation between the Palestinians and Israelis to resolve all final status issues.
Another bomb explosion in Afghanistan. It was a suicide attack in the offices of Kabul police chief in the capital, and it killed a senior officer and injured 6 others. The suicide bomber wearing a military uniform entered the police chief's office in one of the most heavily fortified areas of the Afghani capital at about 9 in the morning, 2 hours after another blast went off. The compound also houses the official of the Kabul provincial governor and the appeals court. Taliban fighters have reportedly claimed responsibility for both attacks. The United States aims on intensifying major power Sino-U.S. relationship and deepen all-around cooperation with China during the 22nd Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, known as APEC. The meetings are scheduled for November 10th to 12th in the Chinese capital of Beijing. And the U.S. National Security Advisor Susan Rice expressed her opinions on the above issues at an interview with CCTV in Washington. As there will be some informal interactions between Chinese President Xi Jinping and his U.S. counterpart Barack Obama in Beijing during the 22nd APEC meetings, she said that expectations of the U.S. on these informal interactions will affect the relationship between the two countries.
Our view is that it's helpful when leaders of important countries have not only a business relationship, but get to know one another a bit more personally. And so in Sunnylands, when President Xi visited, they did have something of an opportunity to spend time together without a lot of their respective teams. In Beijing, we're looking forward to doing the same. There'll be opportunities for them to have some private time as leaders. There'll be some smaller meetings and smaller meals in addition to the normal formal program. I think it's very much, as I've said earlier in this discussion, we view the U.S. relationship with China as one of the most consequential and important relationships in the world. We aim to deepen and strengthen our cooperation across a broad spectrum of areas where it is in our mutual interest. And we think there are many such areas: economic, security, diplomatic, global health. There's a broad range of areas where we can and we should cooperate more. But we also think that we have to be clear and forthright about where we differ, and work to manage those differences responsibly so that they don't evolve unnecessarily into confrontation. That's how we view this relationship, and we think there is potential for a great deal of progress.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel attended a church service as part of celebrations marking the 25th anniversary of the night of the Berlin Wall, the day it fell. Merkel and officials listened to speeches and prayed for those who lost their lives during the days of the communist regime in East Germany. Earlier in the morning, Merkel, who grew up in East Germany, placed a rose at one of the few remaining sections of the wall to commemorate those who died trying to escape to the west. The wall fell on November 9th, 1989, bringing to an end the fight for freedom by East Germans against the communist regime. Each year, nearly 1 million people in Europe suffer from a cardiac arrest. A mere 8% survives due to slow response times of emergency services. A new ambulance drone is capable of saving lives with an integrated defibrillator. The goal is to improve existing emergency infrastructure with a network of drones. This new type of drones can go over 100 kilometers per hour and reach its destination within 1 minute, which increases chances of survival from 8% to 80%. And this drone folds up and becomes a toolbox for all kinds of emergency supplies. Now, future implementations will also serve other use cases such as drowning, diabetes, respiratory issues, and traumas. I want you to take a look at this report right now.
112 operator, what is your emergency?
It's my dad. I think he had a heart attack. Please help. He's not breathing anymore.
Please stay calm. What's your name?
Joanna.
Good, Joanna. We've got your location. The ambulance drone is on its way. Remove his top shirt to uncover his torso.
Okay.
Great. Can you go to the nearest exit? The ambulance drone is almost there.
Okay. I'm outside.
I'll be talking through the drone now, so you can put down the phone. Now please pick up the drone and bring it to your father. You're doing great. Okay, pull the green lid. Now place the pads on your father's chest. Good, I can see that the pads are properly applied. Joanna, please stay clear of your father. We'll take it from here.
Hi, I'm Alec Momon. I'm a graduate student at the TU Delft working on a project for Living Tomorrow and UZ Gent. Our vision is to improve current emergency infrastructure with a network of drones capable of saving lives. At over 100 km per hour, these drones create an ultra-fast response system capable of increasing this survival chance from 8% to 80%. This is because the ambulance drone is not affected by current road infrastructure, but is capable of flying in a straight line, bringing down the average response time of an ambulance from 10 minutes to 1. We developed a new type of drone that is capable of folding into a very compact position. The drone essentially becomes a flying toolbox for your emergency supplies. Using advanced production techniques such as 3D printed microstructures and carbon fiber frame construction, we were able to achieve a very lightweight design. Our iterative process using design sketching, laser cutting and CNC milling allowed us to rapidly visualize our ideas. The result is an integrated solution that is clear in its orientation and friendly in appearance. Let's use drones for a good purpose. Let us use drones to save lives.
That changes the meaning of drones completely. And on that note, let me remind you of today's stories. Former President Michel Sleiman applauds the city of Tripoli for its support of the army and urges the election of a new head of state. 2 grenades in the Palestinian camp of Ain al-Hilwa in Saida go off but cause only minor material damage. And the 12th edition of the Beirut Marathon, Ethiopian athlete Fikadu Girma wins it, outclassing more than 37,000 participants this year from 94 countries. Those are your headlines live on Future Television. From me and everybody here on at Future, have a good one.